SKOL Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, the latest updates are all about major roster changes. There are two strong candidates as potential signings to fix a serious hole on the defensive line, and that decision alone could shift how this defense looks next season. There's also a trade rumor that could shake up the offense in a big way, the kind of move that doesn't just tweak things but changes how games are played. A rising name in the draft is already getting people talking, and you can feel expectations building. There's even a behind-the-scenes move that could impact all of Minnesota and how this franchise is viewed across the league. And at the end, there's the most intense situation of all, one that could define the future of the team. Stick with me, because this sequence really heats up. There's been an issue that's been bothering people for a while now, and it's nothing new. Anyone who follows the Vikings closely knows exactly where this team is most vulnerable. The middle of the defensive line still doesn't inspire confidence, and when that part of the defense struggles, everything else starts to fall apart. You've seen it happen in real time. Recent departures left a big gap inside. It's not just about numbers, it's about presence. They're missing that guy who can take on two blockers and still push the pocket. Right now, looking at the rotation, you see effort, but you don't see dominance, and that's a problem against top offenses. Jalen Redmond had a solid season. That's fair to say. He showed up and made plays at key moments, but you can't put everything on his shoulders. That's not how football works, especially in the NFL. You need depth. You need players who are ready now. That's where some interesting names start to come into play, and this is where it starts to get real. This isn't empty speculation. These are real options still available. They could step into this roster almost immediately. One of those names is Christian Wilkins, and this is where things get complicated, because the talent is undeniable. He's already proven he can perform at a high level. In 2023, he played like one of the most productive defensive tackles in the league. He pressured quarterbacks. He collapsed offensive lines. He was constantly involved. But after that, things got strange. And that's where the hesitation comes in. The foot injury happened. Then came that off-field situation that nobody fully understood. Along with that came questions about his recovery process. That creates real uncertainty. You can't just ignore that. But there's one detail that changes everything. Brian Flores knows Wilkins. He worked with him early in his career. He knows how to get the best out of him. And when you have that kind of connection, the risk feels a little smaller, and maybe that matters more than people think. Now, if the idea is to go with a safer option, there's another name that fits that profile better. DJ Reader. Reader is that veteran who might not grab headlines but solves real problems. Strong against the run, takes up space, and can push the pocket when needed. He's not at his physical peak anymore, that's true, but he's still extremely useful. Over the past few seasons, even with the natural wear of the position, he's remained productive. And that kind of consistency matters a lot for a defense that needs stability, especially late in games. Let's be real here. The way this group is built right now, it's not enough for a full season. They're going to need reinforcements, whether it's someone with high upside like Wilkins or someone more reliable like Reader. So here's the question. Would you gamble on potential or go with the safer option? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this decision could define the tone of the defense in 2026. And stay locked in, because what's coming next involves the offense and could shift the direction of this team. Now the conversation shifts to the other side of the ball, and this could have an even bigger impact, because this isn't just about adjustments. This is about a real chance to transform the offense, and maybe faster than people expect. There's a move being discussed behind the scenes that involves a major draft trade, and it's not for just any player. It's for a talent that many already see as special before even stepping into the NFL, the kind of player that changes how defenses prepare. The original plan seemed simple. Use one of the high picks to grab a young running back. Someone with explosiveness, speed, and the ability to change games. But here's the problem. That name likely won't be available when the Vikings are on the clock, and that's where it starts to get real, and that's where the pressure kicks in. Stay put or move up in the draft. That decision alone could shape the entire offense. The player at the center of all this is Jeremiah Love, and honestly, the hype around him isn't exaggerated. Some are already comparing him to the best running backs in the league today. Elite explosiveness, great vision, the ability to catch passes and create yards after contact. He's the kind of player who completely changes how an offense operates. But he's not going to fall to Minnesota. In fact, everything points to him being selected much earlier. Top 10, maybe even higher. And that complicates everything, especially for a team picking later. So now the trade scenario comes into play, moving up from the current spot to compete for that talent. But that comes at a cost, and it's a big one. To make that move, the team would likely have to give up multiple picks, valuable selections this year, and possibly future ones as well. This is the kind of move that can change a franchise, for better or worse, and there's no middle ground here. Let's be real here. This is the type of decision that separates aggressive teams from conservative ones. Because think about it. Add a player like that alongside Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Add him to this offensive group, and you're talking about a nightmare for any defense in the league. That's an offense that puts fear into opponents. But the downside matters too. Giving up draft capital means less depth, less margin for error. And if the player doesn't deliver, you pay the price. And you can't ignore something else. This roster still has holes. It's not just running back. There are other positions that need attention. So the big question is simple. Is it worth everything for a generational talent? Or is the smarter move to build with balance? Because this potential trade isn't just about one player. It's about the identity this team wants moving forward. And keep that thought in mind, because the next update ties directly into the draft and could impact this situation even more. And this is where things start to directly affect the team's planning, because while there's talk about trading up in the draft, there's also a scenario where talent could fall right into the Vikings' hands. And if that happens, everything changes. There's a group of college players getting a lot of attention right now, and it's not just hype. It's production, consistency, and performance in big moments, the kind that translates to Sundays. These players are climbing draft boards. They are showing up in early projections. Among them, one name has started to gain traction specifically linked to the Vikings. And not just once. He's appeared in multiple credible projections, which makes you pay attention. That name is Dylan Thieneman, and we're talking about a defensive back with elite football intelligence. It's not just about physical tools. It's awareness. It's anticipation. It's being in the right place before the play even develops. Last season, he put up strong numbers, consistent tackles, key interceptions, and a constant presence on defense. He's the kind of player who organizes the unit. He communicates. He keeps everything aligned. And that fits perfectly with Brian Flores' system, maybe even more than people realize. But that's not all. Another rising name is Kenyon Sadiq, a tight end with strong red zone presence, reliable hands, good movement, and the ability to make plays in tight spaces. It's not the biggest need for Minnesota right now, but it's talent that stands out, and sometimes that matters more than expected. And then there's Emmanuel Pregnon on the offensive line. Strong, technical, and consistent in protection. These types of players don't always get attention, but they make a huge difference over a season, especially in big moments. But going back to the main point, Thieneman. He's projected right around where the Vikings are expected to pick, and that creates a real dilemma. Do you stay put and take a player ready to contribute on defense? Or do you jump into trade talks to move up for a more explosive offensive weapon? That's the kind of decision that can split a front office. Let's be real here. This decision defines identity, because Thieneman isn't a flashy headline player, but he strengthens structure, and teams that want to truly compete need that. Now I want to hear from you. Would you go with the safer, more balanced approach, or take the risk and move up? Tell me what you'd do, because this decision could reshape the roster. And stay with me, because the next story shifts away from the field and into a major franchise-level move. Now hold on, because this one steps away from the field, but it says a lot about how big the Vikings want to be in the league, and that's not an exaggeration. The franchise has officially entered the race to host one of the NFL's biggest events, and this isn't just symbolic, this is a strategic move. It is serious and long-term, and it sends a message. The Vikings, along with US Bank Stadium, have submitted a bid to host the 2028 NFL Draft. And when you look closer, you realize this goes far beyond just bringing an event to the city. This is about positioning. One key figure behind this effort is Lester Bagley, an executive with the organization, and his message makes everything clear. The team doesn't just want to be involved, they want to lead, they want to invest, they want to show strength. That changes how the league looks at this team, and that perception matters. Because today, the draft is no longer just about making picks. It's a full-scale event. It's the entire city involved. It brings tourism, it creates economic impact, and it delivers global exposure. Minnesota already proved it can handle that with the Super Bowl, and now they want to do it again. There's another important detail. The plan isn't limited to the stadium. There's potential for events across the entire region. This includes the TCO Performance Center. That expands the impact. It brings fans closer. It builds connection. Let's be real here. This is how big franchises operate. It's not just about building a competitive roster. It's about showing the NFL you matter off the field too. That you move the league, that you attract attention, and that indirectly influences what happens on the field. Players notice it. Agents notice it. The perception shifts. There's also something else people don't talk about enough. The economic impact of recent drafts has been massive. Hundreds of millions of dollars generated. That matters in the decision process. Minnesota enters this race with a strong case. Of course, nothing is guaranteed. Other cities are competing. And the NFL hasn't announced a final timeline yet. But one thing is clear. The Vikings are stepping onto the big stage, and that shows ambition, because while we talk about signings, trades, and the draft, the franchise is also playing a bigger game behind the scenes. And keep that in mind, because the next story brings us back to the field and involves a name that could shape the future of this team. Now, this is where things shift to another level, because this isn't about adjustments, draft strategy, or structure anymore. This is about the future of the most important position in football and everything that comes with it. And when that comes into play, tension rises. There's no way around it. A situation is developing inside the team that involves a real quarterback competition. Nothing decided, nothing guaranteed, and that's already creating noise outside the building, which tells you how serious it is. There's a young quarterback at the center of it, a name that arrived with high expectations. Someone many still believe could be the future. But at the same time, rumors have started suggesting he might look for a fresh start elsewhere. That name is J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy recently returned to Minnesota after spending time training out west. He came back focused, ready to compete. And that says a lot about his mindset, especially in this situation. It would have been easy to feel shaken by everything going on. But that's not what happened. At the same time, there's another major name in this battle, Kyler Murray, and many already see him as the natural favorite. Experience, track record, and playmaking ability all matter. But here's the key detail. There's no promise of a starting job. That changes everything, and it keeps the pressure on both sides. Let's be real here. This is a true competition. Whoever performs better wins. Simple as that. And that's where the trade rumors involving McCarthy come in. People outside the organization have started to push that idea. But internally, the message is different. There's no clear sign the team wants to move on from him right now. In fact, everything suggests he's still part of the plan. But there's a big if in this situation. If he loses the competition, if he doesn't show enough, if a strong offer comes in, then things change. Then the trade scenario becomes real. And that leaves everything wide open, because there's a path where McCarthy develops, wins the job, and becomes the future. But there's also the opposite path. And that one changes everything, including how this roster is built moving forward. Anyone who lives and breathes Vikings football understands the weight of this decision. This isn't just about picking a starter, it's about defining direction. And after everything we've covered today, you can feel it. This team is at a crossroads, and that's exactly what makes this moment so intense. And when you step back and look at everything, you can feel exactly where this team is right now. This isn't just about signings or potential trades. It's about direction. It's about identity. It's about what the Vikings want to become moving forward. There's a defensive gap that needs a real answer, and it can't wait too long. There's a chance to reshape the offense with a major decision, one that could define how this team scores points. There's incoming talent from the draft that could rebalance the roster. And at the same time, there's an internal battle that could define the future of the most important position on the field. Being completely honest, this isn't a normal phase. This is a turning point. Either this group takes a step forward, or it stays stuck in the middle. And now I want to hear from you. Drop your comment and tell me which of these stories caught your attention the most. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings. Let's go.